Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. Welcome to Kentucky. You now have allergies. You're welcome. That's our gift to you. In addition to the great swag, you now have allergies. So as John mentioned, my work is grounded in building people-centered and future-focused communities. And this is about ensuring individual self-sufficiency, and more broadly, sustainable communities, meaning that everybody is thriving economically, culturally, and environmentally. Through this, I work to create sustainable communities that are embedded with infrastructures and cultures of innovation and belonging, right? And really, these are starting to become buzzwords for new ideas. But I'm going to talk about the difference between truly innovative ideas and bedazzled Band-Aids. Yeah. But so as we do this by partnering with organizations, both corporate and community-based, through workshops, business development strategies, and coaching for tangible tools, policy evaluation, and process change. My experience, as John mentioned, in managing intellectual property, I also advise startups, coach and mentor executive leaders, evaluate and spearhead policy analysis and evaluation. And I've done this for city of government. That was a tour of duty. We can talk about some other time. But also in education and industry. I teach entrepreneurship and innovation, but it's given me a different perspective about what it means to live and exist within community. Right, I have served in several leadership roles which have become considered traditional, and I use that term very intentionally, diversity, equity, and inclusion positions for over 16 years. And that piece matters. Every engagement is grounded in business and economic development, but also practical tools, right, for evaluating policies and processes to expand access and opportunity to serve more constituents. Most of these positions I've co-designed with organizations of employment in order to genuinely advance critical initiatives, right? And ultimately, this is what has led me to where I am now, inside of research and leading the Social Innovation Unit, which is new for the University of Kentucky. And through this, I create firm infrastructures for community-based systems for sustained social impact, social justice, and the common good through innovation and belonging for economic development. Do we have slides? Maybe. But what does that actually mean for the University of Kentucky? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Oh, okay. I'm going to screw this up in a minute, but we'll get there. It'll be okay. So what does this actually look like for the University of Kentucky? The Social Innovation Unit is housed inside of UK Innovate through the research arm of the institution. And that's important because that means our core center is actually in research solutions, right? But so we have three main pillars: faculty research solutions, community engagement, and experiential learning. All three of these pillars are uniquely fitted together like gears, and they are powered by human-centered design. But remember, I said the core of this is grounded in research, which means I am intentionally driving human-centered design research for the institution. So we specifically seek research solutions that are designed with, by, and for the community. These co-created solutions also then instill agency and empowerment back in the communities that are meant to serve. Isn't that amazing? Right? I often tell people superheroes like go to their day job and then they put their capes on at night. Like my job is to wear my cape during the day. Like I'm a daily superhero. It's amazing. So I love the warrior princess analogy because I subscribe. That is how I promote myself. So the whole idea that in order to do this well and make communities more sustainable and thriving with a sense of belonging is that we have to use a liberatory design model so that we are constantly reflecting and noticing on our own role and our own impact on the social innovation process. So through an emergent strategy, we can then disrupt systems to make societal change. Easy peasy, right? No problem. But today I hope to leverage liberatory design theory and give us all a moment to reflect on us as individuals and the organizations that we serve our communities through. Hopefully, there will be something that you can take back with you to advance that emergent strategy in your community. So I'd like for you to participate in an activity with me. So get yourself comfortable in your seat, wiggle around a little bit, make sure you're comfortable. And I want you to sit back and relax in your chair, however you're comfortable, and close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. Keep your eyes closed. Find your center. And I want you to clear your mind and let me build the scenario that you're going to see. Imagine yourselves packing up, getting ready to move to a new county. You've gotten a new job. It's a promotion. So excited. This is the break that you've been waiting for, that you've been working for. This is the game changer for your family. You have a 9-year-old child. They'll get to start a new school, a new building, new teachers, new friends. Y'all, I love nothing more than the beginning of school and school supplies. I'm easily excitable, right? So surprise me with some fun Post-its, new backpack, I'm all in. You got me. But can you smell the opportunity? Do you feel it? Are you excited? So day 1 in the new place comes. You choose to drop your little off at school instead of putting them on the bus, right? So you're in the car line, you're angry at the traffic, but it's also exciting, okay? Hugs are exchanged. I love hugs, especially from little people. Both of you take a deep breath and you turn to leave the building as you see your little take the hand of the administrative assistant to walk to their new classroom. You go on to your new job. How you feeling? Are you nervous for your little, but you know they got it? Are you excitedly anxious for both you and that little one walking down the hall? Are you appropriately nervous to now be walking down your own new hall? But it's great, right? It's a big new job, but you know you got it. You've been waiting for this. I forgot to mention at the beginning that you're an immigrant family. This promotion is for an hourly wage at a local store, but it will be the first time you can afford your own apartment. I also forgot to mention that your little doesn't speak English. So let's go back to that moment of hugs exchanged. In your vision, where the little takes the hand of the administrative assistant to go to their new classroom. I want you to see that child being walked into a classroom and everyone turns to stare. You may open your eyes. I want you to put yourself in that child's shoes. You ever been there? Ever felt like everyone was staring at you and you didn't know what to do? Ever felt like all eyes were on you? I have. Sucks. So there you are, standing in the doorway with an adult. Everyone is loudly making noises, but you can't understand. The administrative assistant hands you over to the teacher and leaves you. You feel the weight of the door shut. Teacher points in the direction of the seat, so you assume. Teacher continues to talk. Students are raising hands. They keep turning and looking at you, but you still don't know what you're supposed to be doing. The child next to you politely pushes over a book in front of you and points, and they smile. You don't. Can you feel it? The anxiety, the fear in that moment? Or, don't tune me out yet. Maybe you walk into the room and the teacher and students greet you in your native language because they were ready for you. They were waiting for you. Maybe they stop all instruction for the day and focus on helping you learn how to thrive in their space. Maybe they spend hours learning what you need through hand gestures and smiles, some Google Translate. Maybe you spend the day thinking, I'm going to be okay, and not tears of frustration and sadness and loneliness. This is a true story. What version of this is the one that actually happened? Which version of this scenario is the one that we see every day in so many spaces? How many different ways can you change out the classroom scenario for a different space, a different system? But the feelings, emotions, and structures are the same. Hold that thought. We're going to come back to this. So today I'm hoping to demonstrate from a community systems approach how we use emergent strategy and liberatory design theory to enhance community structures from a mass customization perspective. I have no doubt that you will leave this conference inspired and empowered. Inspiration gives you the energy to do hard things, right? Sometimes we get tired, but we're not uninspired. Empowerment gives you the tools to then use that energy to do the right thing. My goal for today is that you leave here with something to think about and leverage for inspiration and empowerment. But the clock is ticking, so we got to move fast. So, thankfully, let's go back to the scenario that we just walked through together. And because of some really critical leadership, this scenario has a happy ending. But let's dissect this scenario a little bit because it's an amazing example of what it means to build people-centered and future-focused communities. Not only does the child feel like they belong in the school, but each student in that classroom was taught empathy and compassion. They were given tangible examples that were modeled for these children in terms of how to make someone feel welcomed, how to create a culture where each individual has the opportunity to thrive. They were not taught to just put the cog in the wheel. But Dr. Wright, that's an elementary school. So of course they stopped the day and did those things. Don't do that. First of all, I taught for years. We ain't got time to stop the day. We only have time to teach what they tell us to teach, right? It's really hard. But don't disregard the critical lessons that are being taught through this experience, because that child's experience has a direct correlation to the parent, the guardian's experience in the workplace and in the community. And we should all be doing this, right? And being mindful of that. We should be making sure that each community member or employee or liaison walks in the door and feels invited, that they feel like the child did and that the whole room was waiting for them. So what do I want you thinking about? What do I want you reflecting on? How are you reevaluating your hiring and onboarding procedures to ensure that everyone feels like they belong? Is your community surviving or thriving? Are your internal people surviving or thriving? Or are they just cogs in the wheel? Now, it can be a super friendly wheel, but we get really comfortable, right, in the super friendly wheel, but it's still just a wheel. Are we evaluating our procedures to ensure there's acceptance of and respect for difference? Are we investing in our employees as people and not just as organization assets? And often this is where great community organizations tell me, but of course we're doing this. We're a community organization. We're great at how we serve our constituents. But in forcing the conversation about how great you are externally, you're signaling to me that you're not ready to focus internally, and that part does get ignored. So as we think about to promote and encourage a culture for our communities and our organizations that pulsate and shift it with its people, if you can't be agile with your internal team, you can't be agile with your external community groups. And we see this in so many traditional solutions, right? You all know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you've applied for a grant or you've not gotten a grant, right? And it's the bedazzled Band-Aid. It's the same solution that has never worked, called something else, wrapped in a real pretty bow, and it becomes the new solution that gets funded, right? That's the bedazzled Band-Aid. We cannot have people-centered, future-focused communities with antiquated policies. There needs to be an infrastructure of iterative feedback loops to help inform organization policy and best practices in order to ensure the people, both internally and externally, stay at the core of what we're doing. And I think this exchange between John and the colleagues from Massachusetts, was that right? Yeah, is a critical example of that. You cannot delay. We have to start at the beginning and continue. It's never ending. We should continue to get that feedback, that baseline data, and adjust and evolve. But so hold on to this idea, because we're going to come back to this. This diagram's not up here for funsies. We're going to do something with this. But Colin Powell said, a dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work. I deeply believe in magic. I love magic. Do not ruin the magic trick for me. We will never be friends. I love magic. But even though I believe in magic, I will always double down on the hard work. And because of that, I'm committed to helping you do the hard work. We'll sweat together. That's fine to do the hard work. Today, this week, this conference, this is just a brisk walk. We're going to get our heart rates up. But we're going to be energized to do it again tomorrow. And I hope every session gets your heart rate up a little bit. Now, if you're thinking, we don't have anyone who doesn't feel like they can't show up as their authentic selves. We don't have any bedazzled Band-Aid projects. Yes, you do. I love you, but yes, you do. We all do, right? Because sometimes we do get tired. Sometimes we do forget the magic dust to bring it with us. But we all do it. It's in a dismissive comment or a joke. This doesn't give us the right to be jerks, right? But we want us to be accountable as a collective for that thriving, sustainable community that we've talked about. So even as we talk about each other, we have to remember to focus on ourselves to find the right magic. So on the left, or left, right? Yeah, okay. On the left is what you will find on my resume or LinkedIn. On the right is how I see me and understand things. That's what my brain looks like, okay? I don't believe in work-life balance, so this is as close as I get for how I understand work-life integration. The pieces on the left directly inform the pieces on the right. The pieces on the right directly inform and impact the pieces on the left. So what does that mean? Who I am is a direct impact on how I show up professionally. The experiences, transferable skills, and lessons that I learn in a professional space have a direct impact on my personal life, and vice versa. Because the core of all this is still me. The core of the work, the core of me as a mom, as a sister, still me. We can measure and understand the belonging of a community, the sustainability of a community, by asking if who we show up as is in contention with who I am, right? So let me try this from a different perspective. This is a bag of tricks. All right, so I want you to think about your lenses. And as I name these things, as I name my lenses for you, I want you to have one too, right? So you've got to be thinking about this with me. So I want you to identify some element of you as we go along. I'm a leader. But as a leader, I'm consistently made fully aware that I am female, right? I am also biracial. Biracial, okay. I'm fun-sized, pocket-sized, short, vertically challenged. Folks, I've heard it all. One of the things that I love about doing speaking engagements is almost 90% of the time you can never actually see me over the podium. It's great. That's why I'm never anxious about it or nervous, because you can't actually see me, so it doesn't matter. One time I went to meet a person who'd been serving on a task force for me, and I came off the elevator and she goes, "Oh, aren't you just the cutest little thing?" And I was like, "Whoa, yay." I'm 40, my wisdom sparkles are showing, but I'm the cutest little thing. I love it, okay. Anyway, I'm bilingual. I learned English as a second language for most of my life. But it wasn't until teaching my children Bahasa that I realized how deeply being ESL has actually impacted my understanding of the foundation of the English language. I have a few autoimmune diseases that deeply impact my level of comfort in professional and social settings. I have an extreme manifestation of one of those that is triggered when I'm cold. So I often stand with my arms crossed, or I find myself signaling in meetings like, "Hey, I'm really passionate about what I'm talking about, but I promise I'm not yelling at you. I'm actively freezing from the inside, and that's why my voice is shaking." But do you get it? Do you see where I'm going? The lenses, the identities of part of us. Also, Farhad, I can no longer see you, so I can talk as long as I want because you can't signal me off the stage. Surprise! Anyway, each of these lenses, specifically shaded lenses, right? You have them, we have them as a collective, but they help me do the sweaty work to affect change. So let's play Who Are You, right? It's your turn. So I want you to turn to somebody near you and only describe yourself to them by the visible elements of your identity. So only use the pieces of you that we can see and clearly label you by. So for example, if I was describing me to my partner, I would say I'm short, I identify as a female, I'm biracial. So then that's all my partner can identify me as, right? I'm going to ask you to share out about your partner using their visible elements. Right? I have to look like this in order to see the people. Okay. Are you ready? You got a partner? You're just going to describe yourself by the visible things that we can see. Noah. No, don't do this. This is a terrible activity. All right, so I hope, come back to me. This is where we do the teacher trick. If you can hear me, clap one time. If you can hear me, clap 2 times. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. Now, I know you all didn't just do that activity because it's awkward. What you did was share something else funny that you were thinking about, right? I know, because I taught high school for 9 years. I heard all 97 conversations that just happened. Nice try, though. But that's a horrible way to think about ourselves, right? But unfortunately, we do that all of the time. On numerous occasions and in professional settings, someone has said to me, oh, you know so-and-so? And I'm like, no, I don't. And they were like, oh, really? Because she was the only other female in the room for that meeting, so I just assumed you knew her. Like, bah. Right? You hear what's wrong with that, right? But we do it. But our lenses help us see and shade elements of each other. We have to stay mindful and reflective of the different lenses we all wear and the impact that we have on how we see ourselves and how others see us and how we see the communities around us. The use of visible labels is absolutely a lens. It is how you are choosing to see someone. I intentionally chose sunglasses to represent this point about my perspective and how we operate within a community of any size, because it visually helps us understand the complexities of all the ways that elements of your background can and do intersect and impact how you engage with the world. But also because they are tinted. I'm not using sunglasses, or I'm not using glasses. I'm using sunglasses, right? Devices that help protect our eyes from bright light, from something that could cause harm, from something that creates a film so things aren't as crisp or as clear. In this same way, when we are not aware of the lenses in which we are viewing a situation, a conversation, a group, or an event, we are guarding ourselves from all of the elements that are contributing to that situation. We are allowing them to be filtered out, to bounce off, because we've forgotten we even have the lenses on. I do forget how many I have up here. We've applied our own tint. So I want you to start reflecting on all of the lenses that you have. Are you a veteran? Are you multilingual? The type of family you grew up in. Where did you grow up? Was it urban, suburban, type of home, large or small community? Did you work growing up? Do you have different physical abilities, different learning abilities? Did you have to take care of siblings or other young children in your home, or a parent or a grandparent? Do you have debt? Do you own a car? Do you own a home? Do you have a medical condition that requires special medicine or special foods? I can go on and on. I would encourage you to make a list of these different elements of your identity, of your background, that you think about as the day goes on, especially when you're listening to a session that you either super agree with and love, or maybe you don't agree with it at all. But use it as a moment to reflect on the epicenter of why you feel that way. You will reflect differently on these elements when you see them written down, right? We all know the old adage, out of sight, out of mind. So keep it in sight over the next few days. Keep them in mind. Being acutely and overtly aware of them will help you internalize and conceptualize the information that you received today and how to apply it to your community. As practitioners of emergent strategy, we must remain in a constant state of personal reflection and evolution in order to stay mindful and aware of our impact on our community's sustainability and development. So how do we continually reflect on this? Please do not assume you naturally do this. It takes intention from all of us, even the best of us. One method is to know what elements of your identity are triggers for you. Start there. What are the elements that you're defensive about or that upset you when they are ignored? We all have them. In order to create a culture of belonging, a place where everyone feels welcomed, we have to understand these lenses. This image is of my home where I grew up. Nope, it's not dilapidated from years of existence. This is my home. My home had no shower. It had one light bulb. We had one hot plate. We had to boil our water to have potable water. I did not grow up food insecure, but I grew up clean water insecure. And if you look at my backpack, I've got 2 empty water bottles, and there's one more in my car. There's one at the table. Like, I collect clean water because it makes me feel safe. When we cooked rice or vegetables, we had to boil the bugs out and then drain it out before we could continue to cook it. I grew up poor in a developing country. My lens then related to the understanding of poverty and socioeconomic class and status is very much shaded by this experience. It's probably the biggest set of sunglasses that I wear. I know this. Well, I've learned this, and I've learned it the hard way, how this has impacted my relationships and my understandings. So I had a friend in my doctoral program who broke down because she was struggling financially. Her longtime partner had kicked her out. The situation she described was really bad. She had to pay her own tuition, own bills. Suddenly she was completely alone in every way that she didn't know how to function in. I then found out that her parents were millionaires and had bought her a downtown apartment, and she was attending the institution for free. The level of pissed, so mad, but I felt betrayed. I thought we had bonded over this understanding. I felt mocked. But it took a very honest conversation from my mentor to remind myself of the lens that I'm wearing and to find empathy for my friend. For her, having to pay her utility bills, having to pay some of her tuition was the first time she had ever experienced any type of financial obligation. She truly had no idea how to go online and pay her bills. Being able to respect that difference was critical. Being reminded of why empathy and not equality was more important mattered. It's so easy to forget, you all, to lose sight of the empathy. We keep trying, but things don't change. We offer all kinds of resources, but it's their fault for not taking advantage. Friends, we've got to do the hard work and get sweaty in reflecting on ourselves. So let's go back to the things that we don't do. We definitely don't do those things. But when we're talking about our amazing organization culture and community practices, and we're in full sales mode, whether it's in a grant opportunity or a partnering opportunity, maybe there's a major national foundation that's coming in with me. We've all been there in those moments. Your team, the major grant in town for a site visit, you've got a few community key stakeholders present, everyone in the boardroom, and the question from the grant funder is, we've really enjoyed our visit. And as we look around the room, we are wondering about the grant's diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. As a major federal funding organization, IDEA and community engagement is very important to us. Diversity is a core value and must be embedded in your work. Simply targeting a marginalized or distressed community isn't enough. Can you talk to us about the diversity of your team and the community you are aiming to serve? Friends, this is a true story. And the people in the room went, oh yeah, we have one of those. Serenity's biracial. And then they said, okay, well, talk to us about marriage and family and equality. Oh yeah. So-and-so's gay. We got one. They're here. I'm empathetic because I have a friend who is. No. My best friend one time was. Day to day, right? When we start to say these things and get labeled by, oh, we have one. I know somebody. I can't even figure out which one of these I'm supposed to pull off first, you all. Right? I met them one time. When we do this, when we make those statements, we're erasing these elements of us. Because now you can't see the world as I see it. You've taken it off. You now can't empathize with how I understand the world. Our lenses matter. We can share them, but don't ask people to put them down. So what should we do? How are we supposed to respond then? This was the response back from the people who said the terrible things. How are we supposed to respond when the area we're trying to serve has less than 1% diversity? What are you supposed to do when you're trying to hire, but people don't want to move to a town where nobody looks like them so much? But we can't give up. That little at the beginning of my story can't afford for you to give up. I can't afford for you to give up. At one point, actually twice in my life, I was the little in that scenario. Nobody was ready for me. Nobody welcomed me. And the second time that I was that little, I was mocked in front of the class. We can't give up. It's not all smiles and celebrations, but we can't give up. Back to the Colin Powell quote, is going to be a hard workout, but we can be bent over and sweaty, but we gonna get up and do those mile repeats tomorrow. We will get to the magic. We'll get there. Because this is about sustainable communities, which will lead to economic development. And there's always money at the end of the rainbow, right? That's how that works. So we still have 2 of these circles to talk about, but step 1 is just own it. Be honest and transparent to the type of community you have and the type of community you want to be. You will never become something you are not genuinely in pursuit of, right? That's why I walk with purpose. I'm not angry. I walk with purpose. I'm genuinely in pursuit of something. I don't know what that is all the time, but I'm going to go get it, right? So do it with purpose, on purpose, for a purpose. Embed yourselves within the community where there is minimal. If there is a community with minimal or no internet, don't send a feedback questionnaire by email. Don't ask them to access a website. I can't tell you all how many times in the last few months I've heard people say, well, this doesn't exist, therefore we must. It doesn't exist, or you don't know that it exists. Friends, in every scenario, X already did exist. We can never know all of the things that are happening. So even if you truly feel like you're embedded in your community, ask again. Ask somebody different. Ask somebody you haven't talked to ever. Learn. Meet other people. Someone else will know. You cannot know everything. There is nothing that makes me more squirrely than networking and meeting new people. Like, it makes me so anxious. And John loves to invite me to spaces. And then he goes, oh, hey, meet my friend Kimberly. And then he just leaves. And I'm like, hi. The first time he did it, I looked back at him, and it was actually to meet April. And he said, you should talk. And I said, I turned right back to him, terrified, because again, I don't like meeting people, right? And I said, about what? And he was like, just start talking, see where it takes you. I was like, oh, it got worse, okay. But we did. We just started talking, and it was great. And now it's all hugs, and I love it. And I love her, right? So if I can do it, you can do it. But it's an ongoing process. Just like in compliance or accreditation, it's constant review and assessment. Just like in the cans, it's constant review and assessment. Meeting community, embedding yourself in the community is the same. It's like the blob in PE class, right? But start slow. Think about it in terms of expanding the advocates and friends for your organization or for your community. The biggest thing to remember is that the one is not the sum of the whole. Everyone's experience is unique and different. Regardless of how similar they may seem, no one has the exact same upbringing. No one is wearing the exact same lenses. The more you clear your lenses, the more friends you will make. So I also want us, in addition to lenses, I also want us to take a minute and talk about thinking caps. Thinking caps are for those when we're not thinking of. Right? So it's kind of ironic, right? It's really about who are we learning to think about who we're leaving out and implementing a process for a specific policy. So, do they work second or third shift? Maybe I don't have a laptop or iPad, or maybe I'm just a very proud Luddite and I don't want to use your technological device. How about that? Okay, because I am. So is it a form that I have to fill out through my smartphone? Because I'm not going to do it. What if I don't even have access to the technology? Right? What if I'm missing fingers or hands and can't write or type? Is it voice operable? If I have a vision impairment, what are my options? One thing that frustrates me in large group meetings, and I know we've all done this because I'm loud, so I've done it, right? Can everybody hear me? I don't need to use the mic. I don't like the mic. Can everybody hear me? Right? And what we're actually doing in that moment is asking the one person who can't hear you ask that question, tell the whole room that they can't hear you. Right? So I love that we have our translators here. Let's everybody give them a round of applause. Our sign language people. Yay, you all are great. Because not only are we not asking the question, can everybody hear me? We're just providing access automatically. We're not asking you to share something you don't want to. So we need to be aware. We don't have to remove every hurdle. That's not the point, right? But are we working towards an option to help people around every hurdle? Are you thinking about all the members of your community and working to expand? I think I need these later. Working to expand their access. So before you come to me and say something, well, we're here to serve X group in the community, but they don't access our resources. We've tried. I mean, like, we're here for them. We're trying. Are you? I'm going to ask you how you've engaged with that community. I'm going to ask you if you have developed feedback loops, a clear process for them to tell you, because those needs will change, what they need. For them to tell you how they want to receive and need that information. Sometimes we're really good at this in the beginning, and then we forget. We get confident in the data and what we know, and we forget that we have to evolve. We forget we left the same hat on for too long, and now it's sweaty and stinky. Or maybe we took it off completely and set it down somewhere. So how do we do this? You create an asset map. Know what is offered in your community. This is like making an epic list of the strengths of your community, right? Everything your community has to offer. How do we incentivize partnerships and business development to build roads, to build bridges? Communicate the resources in a way that is accessible to all people. Build an infrastructure and a process so it's clear how to get from one side to the other. I promise you, nobody in this room gets lost more than me. Happens weekly. I'm lost on a regular basis. Had to go meet a friend at the ER yesterday, on campus, at UK, where I work. It took me 25 extra minutes because I thought I'd take a shortcut. It was a long cut. No, I can't see you. My sunglasses are on. Right? So things to think about is, can you find foods to support medical or cultural and personal needs? And can you get there? Is there public transportation if you need it to get there? Can you find a medical practitioner in your community that meets your mental, physical, and emotional needs? Can you find the services that you need to support a child with different learning abilities? Is there a park near your house for your child who is physically abled in a different kind of way, right? If the answer is no, your action item is easy, right? If the answer is yes, then go back to the beginning. How did we know where to find that information? How long did it take you to find that information? Would everyone know how to do this process? Start making a list of the options and supports. And that's options, plural, right? Everyone needs the options. But so distribution and reception has to be accessible. So are you thinking about making sure the resource is being offered to the people? Or are you insistent that the people find the resources on their own? Is the approach, well, if I can find it, anyone can do it, right? Because they probably can't. This isn't the 100-meter hurdles in the Olympics. We should be running alongside our communities and moving the hurdles for them. We should be running with them and fixing it before they have to jump over it. Sometimes we'll miss one, and that's okay, but fix it. Someone will trip, but we're going to pick them up and remove the hurdle at the same time. People-centered and future-focused. Uh-oh, that's not it. I don't know how to make it go backwards. Oh, there we go. See? Warrior princess. And I didn't even know he was going to make the comment. People-centered and future-focused communities is about humanity. It's about building sustainable communities for economic development. It's not hard work, but it is complex work. And we can do complex things. Things become hard when we get distracted in our emotions, in our pride, in our rush to submit the next grant or chase the money, and forgetting about the people we are all in these positions to help support. When we forget that sustainable community development is about ensuring that all people can be self-sustaining, that individual in our community won't be able to thrive. But it's about teaching our children how to create a space of belonging while we, this magical, John called you all angels this morning, and I love that. This magical collective we work to address policies and procedures at every level and every professional space to ensure that everyone feels valued. We work to ensure that the most marginalized members of our communities can and do access opportunities available for building sustainable people, sustainable families, and sustainable communities. Through this, then, our communities will evolve and develop. This is about expansion. I'm asking you to look at expansion through a different lens and to put on a different thinking cap. Again, today is about starting an open conversation that will keep our communities focused on the people in it. When we acknowledge a gap or community need, what are we doing with that information? How do we move it forward? How do we make our communities better? There's so much to do, but let's do it anyway. Let's do it scared, do it sweaty. Because when we chase our fears, and maybe that's the fear of being vulnerable and admitting you're unsure of how to move forward, or admitting that you're tired or frustrated. Maybe it's the fear of where the next grant will come from, or financial viability for your team. Maybe it's the fear of meeting a bunch of new people, right? Like I am actually running out of here after this, but it's not because I don't want to meet you. I do want to meet you. I'll be back, but I do have to go. Maybe you can't find the thinking cap, or you've forgotten where you put your hat and glasses. I never have my phone, wallet, or keys, but that's a family trait. So let me start the sentence again. When we chase our fears, that's when we make space for the magic. Magic can be hard. It will take hard work, but magic is beautiful. Magic brings wonder and hope and dreams. Everyone needs a little magic to make them smile. So friends, I opened with telling you I'm a real life superhero, and I'm going to close with this superhero who believes in love and justice. But here's my call to action. Just do one. Evaluate and change one policy. Make one list of resources to support your community. Might mean you have to do an asset map for your community or take an inventory of what your community needs from different lenses. Maybe find one more organization that is working towards a similar goal that you didn't know existed before. Remove one more obstacle or barrier for success. Line them up, knock them down, one at a time. Meet one more community friend. Expand your network. Build your blob. Build that community. This isn't about more reports or more task forces or more whatever. I didn't say more of anything. I said one. One more segmented population of our community. One more family. One more person. One more child. Just save one. Thank you all for having me. I would love to keep the conversation going. You can see in the QR code if you would like to connect. I'm on time. Thank you all.